Hi, my name is Derrick Cameron, and I'm a 7-year breast cancer survivor. I remember when I first heard the news, my first question was, how long do I have to live? Breast cancer is normally associated with just women, but men can get it too. There will be about 2,470 cases in the United States in 1 year alone. That's about 1 in 100,000 for men. But for women, it's going to be 1 in 8. 5 years ago, it was 1 in 12. There's almost like an epidemic that's coming. I remember when I found out that I had breast cancer, there were so many emotional questions that just came up. You know, is my family going to look at me any different? Is my friends going to look at me any different? What about my coworkers, those that were at the gym with me? If I was going to meet someone new, would she look at me any different? It was just so many questions, so many emotions that came up. There's a disease that I had that normally associated with women that I just couldn't figure out what to do. So I remember going in and talking to the doctor, and when he broke the news and I had these questions that I really didn't understand exactly what I was getting ready to go into. So I made some hasty decisions in my mind now. I remember going back and looking into making a decision to have a double mastectomy. And when the doctor told me exactly that I had breast cancer, I remember the fact that I had stage 2, and I didn't know what stage 2 was, but he told me that there was only 4 stages. I said, 4 stages? What does that mean for me? What does that mean that I'm gonna have to do now? So we talked about the chemotherapy, and we talked about the radiation, and so we made a decision for me to do chemotherapy. And that chemotherapy those chemotherapy treatments lasted for 6 months. With that being said, there was so many side effects that came from just the chemotherapy. I remember losing all of my toenails and fingernails. I remember having neuropathy in my hands and my feet. I remember holding a glass and dropping the glass because I didn't know how much pressure I was having on that glass. My skin became dark. I was sick 24 hours a day. And in my unique situation while I was going through chemotherapy, I had an accident and I broke my forearm, I broke my shoulder, I cracked my hip, and I broke my femur in half. But yet I still had to continue going through the chemotherapy treatments. But I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't stop what I was doing in the community, leading different organizations, trying to start an engineering camp for kids. I wouldn't stop what I was doing as far as just being there for the other people that I was trying to be there for. But one thing I learned in that journey was the fact that you can't just push away the people that are trying to be there for you, because a lot of times people don't know what to say. And they don't know what to do. They typically will shy away from sickness. So I remember my mother telling me that the fact that, you know, I shouldn't push away people so fast because they don't know what to say or do. So there are caregivers out there that are trying to be there for those that are going through cancer, any kind of cancer. So we have to be patient with them, but they need uplifting as well as those that are going through cancer as well. And, you know, with my situation, I remember just pushing away different folks so quickly because they wasn't there for me as I was hoping that they would be. And I remember just pushing through and going through the emotional roller coaster up and down. But I'm reminded of a story that I heard, and it's about puzzle pieces. You know, there are times when people are in your life and you typically don't know where they belong, and you would like them to be there. They're like a piece of a puzzle. We try to put them in places that they don't belong. And essentially, that's not who they are, and that's not where they belong, but we believe that they should be there. But you just have to let people be people. And in that case, God will put people in your life in that place of the puzzle that they belong. And I remember situations of just sheer strangers reaching out to me that I really didn't know that well, to not only comfort me, but to lend me a helping hand along my journey. Even at the CCI, when I was getting the chemotherapy, it was a very hard challenge. And in that chemotherapy, along with those side effects, I remember getting chemo brain, which is more of an aggressive attitude. I remember the feeling of the chemotherapy. One of the interesting things about the chemotherapy, that I had a port put into my chest, which is a venous port that goes over the shoulder and under your arm and goes into your heart. I remember that there was one chemical that they would inject into this port, and as soon as it hits the port, you can taste it in your mouth. I remember another chemical that they would inject into the port, and it felt like you had ants in your pants. So the faster that they inject this chemical into your chest, it literally feels like you have ants crawling up under your skin. And then I remember what they call the red devil, which is the medicine that actually makes you lose your hair. And in my case, lose all the hair over my entire body. I remember the sensation of when that medicine is injected into the port, how you could feel it travel every centimeter across your arm or over your arm and under your arm, and then into your heart, and your heart swell up like a bubble. It's like a hot syrup that you can feel ejected from your heart into every vein and travel your entire body. It's a weird sensation, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And from that, there were so many side effects that came beyond the ones that I just listed. It's just, you just have to live with them and battle through it. And the interesting thing about it is you'll never understand until you walk in those shoes. I had a heightened sense of smell where I couldn't just smell anything, but if I did smell something that was really strong, it would make me sick. There were so many sensations that came. My nerves were increasingly sensitive, and even now I have sensitive nerves. So, when you're going through cancer treatments and things of that nature, it's not just the walk through it, but it's also the recovery from it. That's why the caregivers and the friends and family are so important. And people can't go in alone. You have to tell someone. I heard someone say that silence is a killer, and that's true. You have to talk about it. You have to let people know what you're going through so they can help you along the way. The key thing about it is the fact that talk about it and don't be selfish. And when I say be selfish, you have people that may be dependent upon you that you don't even know that's dependent upon you beyond your family. It's kind of selfish for you not to want to go to a doctor and get your annual checkups or tell the doctor what's going on with you. The biggest thing is that you have to continue to go to the doctor, tell the doctor how you feel, and if there's a problem, let the doctor know. And get your annual checkups. Don't rely on just what your sensations are and not going to the doctor. You'll go to the doctor when you're really sick, but then you want someone to take care of you when you get sick and not try to do preventative maintenance. So I remember going back and having to go to the doctor. And I remember the things that we had to go through, and I had the DNA test. Once I had the DNA test to determine if I carried the gene, I found out I didn't have the gene. And it doesn't even run in my family, so me getting this cancer is rare. And along this journey, I learned so many things about eating right, the environment that you're in, and mainly it's just taking care of your body. So I want to just tell everyone, don't be selfish, eat right, go get your annual checkups, and do what's best, and always consider the environment that you're always in, work in, live in. There's so many things that can be preventative maintenance for cancer. But you just have to live your life and know that your fight is your fight. You might not be going through what you're going through for you. It may not be anything that you did. One thing that I had to learn that my cancer may not have been about me. It may have been about the people around me. And it didn't do anything to my faith but make it stronger, because I grew up in the church. So I was already a God-fearing man. But the thing about it is, it made me pray harder, and it made me understand that I had to trust in God even further than what I was already trusting Him for in my life. So I would say that, you know, just continue to build a relationship with God and trust in Him, because, you know, you already got the victory. So therefore, don't worry about what your situation is and that it looks like a tall hill to climb. You already have the victory. You just have to persevere through it. So I would say, don't be selfish. Get your annual checkups and continue to live right, and just try to do what's healthy in your life, and you will win any battle that you have to face.